Hey there, awesome accounting student. Mark Franke here. This is Accounting 100 video on Chapter 7, where we're going to post the transactions for a merchandising company into the general ledger and an accounts receivable ledger. This is problem 7.5b, and it's in your book on page 228, 229. First thing to make note of is we have some beginning balances. Now, keep in mind, we've got the general ledger T accounts here. We don't have all the accounts. We're focused just on 5 accounts. The cash account, the accounts receivable account, and then our 3 revenue accounts. The sales, which is a sales account, it's going to be a credit balance like revenue. It's normally going to be on the right, on the credit side, because it's a revenue account and revenue is going to be a credit. But we have 2 negative revenue accounts or contra revenue called sales returns and allowances and sales discounts. So this is sales returns and allowances is when customers send product back, or if they have bad product, they want an allowance or a reduction of their bill for the bad product. And then sales discounts is a contra revenue account or a negative revenue account when customers take a discount because we've offered them terms. And by the way, I have first video where I describe and go through all the transactions on problem 7.4b. If you haven't watched that video, do that one first and then come back to this one, because all the transactions have already been recorded into the journal starting on page 12, and here is the journal. So in this video, we're just going to take these transactions and post them into this ledger. We have beginning balances in cash. We have a beginning balance in accounts receivable. We have beginning balances in other accounts as well, but we're just not focused on those accounts here. Everything we need for every entry to balance is in these 5 accounts. But you'll notice down below in the accounts receivable ledger, we have a separate T account for each one of our customers. So this is just a way to keep track of customers individually. And when we're done, the balance in all of those accounts down below for the customers should agree to the dollar to our accounts receivable account. What we call the accounts receivable account is a control account, and then the accounts receivable ledger supports that control account. So anytime you put something into the accounts receivable account, you have to also post it into the accounts receivable ledger. So let's get started. First transaction was for Annie's Flowers, debit accounts receivable $450 and credit sales $450. I'll label this A, and because we have we put something into accounts receivable, we have to go down below here to Annie's Flowers and put it as a debit. We're only posting what goes into accounts receivable. So the accounts receivable ledger is not going to be double entry like the general ledger. It's just going to be any transaction that we put in accounts receivable, we're going to post it down to the specific customer that we're keeping track of. Transaction B says debit sales discounts, $24. Debit cash, $11.76. And credit accounts receivable for $1,200. So that is wiping out Orange County Florist. So we're going to come down and post the $1,200 transaction to Orange County Florist. Now they don't owe us any more money. C, debit cash, credit sales, $9.25. This is just a cash customer that walked in the door. We're going to debit cash and credit sales, $9.25, and label it C. We don't have anything that happened in the accounts receivable ledger. Only if we put something into accounts receivable do we need to put it down below. Then that cash customer came back and returned something for $25. We gave them a $25 discount. A return. So there is a debit to sales returns and a credit to cash. We actually gave them money back for something they didn't want, or maybe it was damaged, or something about it they didn't like, and so they brought it back. Transaction E, debit accounts receivable, $1,500, and credit sales. This is for Rosa's flowers. So that debit we put into accounts receivable. We have to also post down below into Rosa's flowers and gifts to reflect the sale to her. Transaction F, we received money from Annie's Flowers, debit sales discounts. This is F for $9, debit cash for $441, and credit accounts receivable for $450. So that is Annie's Flowers. We're going to post that $450 credit to her account. Anytime we put something in accounts receivable, we have to also post it to the accounts receivable ledger. Moving to page 13 of the journal, we had Rosa's Flowers sent back some stuff or took an allowance. This is transaction G. It's $200, debit sales returns and allowances, and credit accounts receivable for $200. And then we have to post that down here to Rosa's Flowers because we gave her an allowance on some withered flowers or some other problem that she had. Then Rosa paid. So we have a debit to sales discounts. This is transaction H for $26. We're going to debit cash for the amount of cash we received, which is $1,274, and we're going to credit accounts receivable for $1,300. That's the amount that Rosa owes us because she had a $1,500 sale and we gave her a $200 allowance, so her account now balances out. You can see down below in Rosa's account that $1,300 wipes out everything because she's not going to pay us any more money. She took a discount because she paid within 10 days. Then we received a payment from White Lily Florists. Debit cash. This is transaction I. Debit cash $2,900 and credit accounts receivable $2,900. And then we need to also post it down to White Lily Florists down below in the accounts receivable subsidiary ledger. They paid their balance. There is no discount taken on this situation. Transaction J. This is a sale to Grand Party Supply, debit accounts receivable, credit sales for $580. And J, K, and L are all exactly the same. They're sales. K is to, before we do that, J needs to go to Grand Party Supply. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. So that J transaction to accounts receivable needs to go down below. And then we have the K transaction, which is $480 to Miata Floral Designs. So let's post that down below as well. Again, we're just posting the debit to accounts receivable. All we're posting down below is Grand Party Supply. I think it's $580 it was. And then Miata is $480. And then transaction L, which is the top of page 14 in the journal, we had a sale to Cancino's Flower Shop for $850. Debit accounts receivable, credit sales, $850. This is transaction L, and we're going to post that to Cancino. Transaction L, $850. Then Miata Floral Designs, we gave them a credit memo, a discount, or an allowance, a return for damaged roses for $48. That's going to be a debit to sales, returns, and allowances. This is transaction M. And credit accounts receivable for $48. N is a payment we received from Grand Party Supply, debit sales discounts for $12, debit cash for $568, and credit accounts receivable for $580. That's the Grand Party Supply. So now they paid their balance. We're going to credit them the $580, so now they don't owe us any more money. And then the last transaction is transaction O, is a debit to accounts receivable. This was one more sale for $1,200 to White Lily Florist. Debit accounts receivable, credit sales, and then we're going to post it to White Lily Florist for $1,200. And what we're going to do is now balance out the accounts receivable account, balance out the accounts receivable ledger accounts, and then prepare a schedule of accounts receivable. So I'm going to stop the video. I want you to balance out accounts receivable, figure out what the balance is, balance out each one of the accounts receivable ledger accounts, and then prepare a schedule of accounts receivable over here. And I will have the solution for you, and you can compare. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I have balanced out the accounts receivable account. I have balanced out each one of the accounts receivable ledger accounts, and I've prepared a schedule of accounts receivable. I've only listed the balances of our customers that have a balance. I didn't list Annie's Flowers or Grand Party Supply because their balance is 0. But Cancino's Flower Shop has got a balance of $850. Miata Floral Design has a balance of $432. And White Lily Florist has a balance of $1,200. That adds up to $2,482. It agrees with the accounts receivable account in the general ledger. It has to. If we have an error there, we have to go find it and find out. Literally go in and just check each one individually to make sure everything that got posted to accounts receivable got posted into the accounts receivable ledger. That's how this works. And practice, practice, practice. Talking about customers here, customers that buy stuff and then pay for it at some point in the future. That's it for now. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you again real soon.